Hello and welcome to our Facebook Live show, Pulse by HealthJobHub. I am Prashanti Naidu, the founder of HealthJobHub.com. I am super excited about today's topic as it has been the key to our success at HealthJobHub.com thus far. We are going to be sharing with you tips and advice on how to be successful in social media and digital recruiting. I am delighted to introduce our special guest joining us live this morning on Pulse, Chris Russell, also known as the mad scientist of online recruiting. He is the managing director of RecTech Media, host of RecTech podcast, and chief lancer at HR Lancers. Good morning, Chris. Thank you for joining us. How are you today?
I am doing well today, Prasanthi. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. And please share with us, how's the weather in Connecticut this morning?
We are in a heat wave. It's in the mid-90s, or it's going to be anyway, this afternoon. And I spent yesterday at the pool, so good times.
Oh, wow. You're lucky. That's awesome. And, in relation to COVID, Chris, so what's the state of affairs in your area?
Actually, here in Connecticut, where I'm based, we are the best state in the nation for keeping COVID under control. So I saw a map yesterday that had all the different states, and only Connecticut was green as far as keeping COVID under control. So we're doing pretty good here.
I'm so delighted to hear that. That is awesome news because what we see in the media up here in Canada about the states it's pretty devastating. So I'm so glad to hear that your part is safe. So Chris, you are fondly known as the mad scientist of online recruiting. How did you land that impressive title? And please share with us a little more about your background.
Yeah, well, thanks. I've been in the online recruiting space for about 20 years now. I started out running my own job board company back in 1999 when I first got into the business. Ran that for many years until about 2012. Ended up selling it. But along the way, I started creating a bunch of different recruiting sites. I had some mobile apps for a while for recruiters. And I've just been experimenting a lot with technology, with writing about recruiting technology and attracting candidates online. And a friend of mine, Joe Stubblebine, who now works for a job board called Lensa, we were at an event one day, and he goes, "You're like a mad scientist, Chris, and that's what I'm going to call you from now on." So that's where the kind of nickname came from, and I kind of took it and ran with it and made it part of my my personal branding over time.
Awesome. It definitely is a catchy ring to it, and I love it. Brilliant. And so in terms of your experience, you've been a consultant as well in terms of RecTech Media. What types of companies you work with?
Yeah, I work with both employers and recruiting technology vendors. So I'm basically a marketing consultant, so I can help employers market their jobs online, or I help vendors market their services to employers themselves overall. So that's kind of where my niche is. So I have clients today on both sides of the fence. I do some social recruiting stuff for some employers. I've done some EDP projects, and I do a lot of SEO work for some vendors, writing, and advising as well. So it's fun for me.
Awesome. And, I know you run a very, very popular and successful podcast. In fact, one of my friends, dear friend, Serge Boudreau, who you know very well, he was the one who told me about your podcast. And share with us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, Serge is a guest on my show. I talk to recruiting technology vendors and practitioners in the space, so people like Serge, and talk about what kind of technology they use to hire talent. That's kind of the focus of the show. I'm always interested in what's new and in the space as far as how to find job seekers. And there's been a explosion of recruiting technology in the past couple of years. And for the average HR person, it's hard to grasp what's happening out there. And so the show is kind of helping them to learn what's new and learn new tactics for finding talent online. So.
Brilliant. And if any of our viewers were interested in finding out more, how can they tune into your shows? When is it and where can they find it?
Yeah, there's 2 shows each week, so I do a weekly news roundup of the sort of the top headlines from the vendors coming on scene. That comes out every Friday, and usually on Mondays I'll publish my interview show with a guest, or it might be a solo cast, just with me teaching you something. But yeah, Fridays and Mondays are the typically times come out. And just search RecTech on the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and you'll find me on there.
Awesome. And I'm going to be tuning in too. Chris, your background clearly demonstrates that you are an expert at sourcing candidates across various social media channels such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. What are your top tips and advice on how to be successful in social media recruiting?
Yeah, so I think each channel is a little bit different as far as how you should use it and what you should be doing on there. So let's start with something like Facebook, right? So to me, the top 2 things you should be doing on Facebook are, number one is using their job board. They have a free job board. You can go post your jobs. And essentially, that's basically it's a pretty big job board. As soon as they launched it, they had millions of users.
Wow.
So the way it works is you post a job using your company Facebook page, and people apply to your account. So you'll need they'll basically apply via Messenger. You'll need to have a kind of a dedicated person looking at this. You can also be notified by email as well. All the candidates get stored in your Facebook profile settings. There's a tab in there. You can see all the people who've applied. You'll get their basic contact information and some basic resume data. It won't be your typical resume per se, but you'll be able to contact them from there. You might see their last job title, things like that overall. So that's free to use, and if you're not taking advantage of it, please do so. Generally speaking, it's great for entry-level jobs to some healthcare too. I've heard stories that Facebook is good for finding nurses, for example. But it's a pretty good job board to sell for those entry and mid-level roles overall. The second thing I would recommend on Facebook is job search groups. So today on Facebook, there are thousands of what I call local job search groups for different cities and states. So if you search for something like you're in Alberta, right? So like Alberta jobs or careers or employment, that phrase, you'll find some groups in there you can join, and people are posting jobs in there. And they're essentially little mini job boards inside of Facebook. And as an employer, you can actually take advantage of that by joining those groups, posting your jobs, and getting some free traffic out of it overall. So it's a pretty cool free way to leverage Facebook overall. You used to be able to do sourcing on Facebook, but they took away some of the search filters for that. In the past, you could search for like nursing job titles and things like that, and contact the seeker at that point. But they pulled back at some of that sourcing overall, which is kind of a shame, actually. On something like Twitter, you want to. My top tip there is follow people you want to hire. So you can do a keyword search in the bios. In the search box on Twitter, you type in something like registered nurse, for example, right? You'll get the results. You click on the people tab. It'll show you all the people who have put registered nurse in their bio, for example. That's a great way to kind of locally target people you want to hire overall. If you follow them, a certain amount will follow you back, and you can kind of get on their radar that way. So it's a little more of a passive way to do that. You can also, tweet at them, a job maybe, things like that. You can put people into a list, so you can kind of source on Twitter by finding people you want to hire, putting them into a list on Twitter.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, if you do that like once a month, it's kind of a tactic you can do on a proactive basis to find those people and get on their radar overall. And on something like Instagram, Instagram has been described as sort of the visual glass door for millennials and sort of the younger generation. So my tip there is show off life at your company. Tell people what it's like to work there through pictures, and use it as an employer branding channel, essentially. It's not good for driving traffic because you can't put links in posts. But you can show off your company and your employees in action. And every employer should be thinking themselves as sort of a career newsroom and being authentic and showing off life there. And I think Instagram's an excellent tool to do that. So there's a few tips for you in some different channels.
Awesome. Thank you. And, a follow-on question to that is, how do you test which social media channel is best for your type of candidate that you are trying to reach? So, for example, in healthcare.
Yeah, I think it takes experimenting. It takes trying different things, right? One of the ways you can measure stuff is through, obviously, through just who you find on there, the number of candidates you can find overall. You can look at things like, on your Google Analytics, you can tell traffic coming from Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. And you can see how much time they spend on your site, how many pages do they look at, what their bounce rate is. So do they leave the site right away, or do they stay longer, right? So there are ways you can measure some of this stuff, in addition to just, the number of people you can find in each of the platforms overall. So it takes a little effort, a little digging, but the data is there if you want to find it.
Awesome. And just to elaborate on the measuring part that you just mentioned, how do you measure success rate using social media advertising? And what are your key metrics you use to measure that success?
Yeah, so I think one of the top ones would be time on site. And this is found in your Google Analytics. And it's basically the number of minutes or seconds that a web visitor stays on your website. For a typical job board, it's usually around, I think I saw Indeed's once, which was something like, 6 or 7 minutes, something like that. That's a pretty good time on site. That means they're staying, they're clicking around. Pages per visit. The average job board's about 3 pages per visit. A job seeker might hit the home page, they'll do keyword search, they'll look at the results, see a job, and then they might get redirected to go apply to that job or if that job lives. So that's another one. Bounce rates are important. You have a high bounce rate, over 70, 80%. That's not good. That tells me that people are leaving your site within a few seconds of hitting the home page. So you want to get that as low as possible overall. So those are some of the key metrics to look at overall when it comes to measuring site traffic, particularly from Facebook. Google, one of the best sources of traffic I've ever seen is Google for job traffic. So with Google for Jobs, you can get your jobs listed on there as an employer through your ATS feed. And that traffic is the best traffic I've seen as far as those metrics I mentioned. So they stay longer, the bounce rate's really low. And the pages per visit is just higher than the typical channel out there overall. So that beats everything. It beats Facebook, it beats Twitter, LinkedIn. Google for Jobs traffic is probably the best traffic out there right now from my perspective.
That's great. Interesting to know. Great perspective for employers and job boards alike. And just the last follow-on question on social media recruiting is, what performs better on social media in relation to recruiting? Text messages, static images, or video ads?
Well, if you look at the numbers put out by a lot of the social media companies, it's usually video. That's the most engaging piece of content put out there. Stands out more versus an image or some text. And it's more, it's a visual web out there. So video is kind of eating the web at this point. I think, I forget what the stat is, but in a few years, video is going to be the #1 piece of content across media, by far. So it's something that you need to start using. A quick tip for employers out there is there's a great tool called Ripple, RIPL. It's an app. And I use it for some of my clients to create little short video job ads. And basically you can grab a couple of pictures, you put in a job title that you're hiring for, maybe some other text around it, and it creates a little 6 or 10-second video clip with some music that you can pick, and some nice little templates, and the pictures move. So I use that a lot for many of my clients. to do that. And those typically do pretty well as far as just engagement goes, views, and overall just time spent looking at it.
Awesome. And, I have been using the same as well, a short little video snips, and I find that my conversion rate is way greater on those video ads. But with regards to, how do you define the employer value proposition? And what advice can you offer healthcare employers to help them clearly communicate their value proposition?
Yeah, so your EVP, or employer value proposition, it's a way to give job seekers a reason to work there. Oh, my Siri just went off. And so when I do an EVP project, the first thing I'll do is basically survey the employee base and a set of questions about why they like working there, what's the best part about their jobs, things like that, right? Why they chose to come work at the company. So that's the best way to find out what your EVP is, essentially. And you take all that data, you look for sort of common themes among the what people are saying about you. You can even do this on places like Glassdoor and see what the some of the responses are, and take all that and create sort of a tagline or a positioning statement, if you will, along with some supporting statements as to sort of the whys of they like to go work there. Yeah, it's essentially the deliverable of an EVP project is essentially a tagline and a set of supporting pillar statements that help support that tagline. For instance, when I was working, my last job in corporate was at a cruise line, and so I came up with the tagline of "Cruise to Work," and that was kind of what we went to market our advertising slogan, right? It's definitely something. It's a good thing to have as far as it helps to explain to job seekers what your proposition is to them, why they should come work for you. And that's what an EVP is designed to do. It helps attract talent by telling them what's in it for them.
Perfect. And I'm sure you could add those onto those video ad campaigns as well. It'll be very short and snappy to capture somebody's attention in that 6 seconds. Yeah,
you hashtag it. You put put that slogan everywhere.
Yes.
Make it part of your daily content stream.
Awesome. Okay, and what are your top tips to recruiters to write killer job ads and job descriptions?
Okay, well, recruiters are not very good at writing job descriptions for the most part. So they're not trained to be writers, so it's not surprising. I always tell companies, get a copywriter involved somehow. Find somebody who's good at writing to help you write these things, number one. But you want to talk to the candidates in their own voice, right? You want to tell them what's in it for them. Why should they take this job? So I like job descriptions or job ads that are different, that they're not your typical list of bullet points of duties and responsibilities. That's what I call a job description. When it should be as a job ad. It should really speak to the job. It should have your EVP statement in there. It should say things like, "You'll be successful in this job if you do these 3 things," right? Another favorite template of mine is a Q&A template. What will my first 30 days be like? Who will I be working with and for? Just kind of a list of questions and answers as a job description. That's different. That stands out. And also using images and video in those job ads, right? It's a visual web, as I mentioned. And if you don't have at least an image of your company or office or something in there just to catch the eye, it's going to help stand it out among all the other text-only job ads that are out there on job boards and things like that. So those are some good tips to take away.
No, awesome. And I do find that there's not many employers who's adding those videos or those maybe photos in their job descriptions. Actually, I don't think I've ever even seen anything added to the job description in a long time. So that's a great tip. So if there's any employees listening out there, it's great to use a platform that has all those tools that you could actually quickly upload that information. So you make it a much more richer experience for the job seeker.
Yep.
Coming on to tools, how important are job boards in digital recruitment marketing?
Yeah, I think they're, coming from the job world myself, man, I think they're definitely important out there. They're, they're a place to go post your jobs. You,
Mhm.
as an employer, if no one knows about you, and this is kind of the vast majority of employers out there, if no one knows about you, you need places to go and spread the word. And that's why job boards exist today. That's why they will always exist overall, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's Indeed or Facebook or a niche board like HealthJobHub, you need these places to go and find these active job seekers overall.
Mhm.
Most companies don't have giant teams of sourcers out there who are, searching on LinkedIn and other platforms for talent. And so
Yes.
part of it is being able to proactively attract talent through other channels, and job boards
Mhm.
are a main reason why they exist overall. So,
Awesome. And what are your views then on general job sites or niche job sites? And what's best for sourcing those hard to find in demand candidates, such as in healthcare?
yeah, so generally speaking, big job boards like Indeed and Glassdoor and those guys, they're great at sort of the entry to mid-level across many different
Mhm.
industries overall. When it comes to the hard to find, not so great probably.
Mhm.
More niche job boards come in, more niche job board communities do a really good job at that. The niche job board is not about quantity, it's about quality overall. So in that way, I think. And so, there's probably, in healthcare, there's probably 40 different healthcare job boards out there, from HealthJobHub to there's 10 different nursing job boards you can check out.
Yeah.
There's some general aggregators in healthcare as well, just sort of every kind of job. But yeah, there's pretty much
Mhm.
every type of healthcare position out there is probably a job board that serves that niche overall. And so, as employers, you can go in there, post a job, and many times you can also actually search the resume databases and find talent in there as well too. So they
Yes.
are a little mix of both when it comes to posting jobs and also finding talent in that specialty.
Brilliant. That's great. Awesome insights, Chris. Are there any last questions, or not actually questions, but thoughts that you would like to leave us with before we end the show today?
Um, well, I think it's a unique time out there from a recruiting perspective. Um, there's a lot of recruiters getting laid off here in the U.S. Because of
Mhm.
COVID-19,
Yep.
and so it's for many times they're the first to go. So my heart goes out to them. Many of them are
Mhm.
clients, and it's been a tough few months here for the recruiting space. I think across
Yeah.
the globe as well. But my advice is to hang in there, be proactive in your own job search overall, and
Yeah.
when it comes to healthcare recruiting, try HealthJobHub. So
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for being a special guest on our show, Pulse by HealthJobHub today, and giving our viewers some awesome tips and advice. I'm definitely going to try and implement some of those myself on healthjobhub.com. Special thanks to all our amazing viewers. Thank you for tuning in live, and thank you for watching this video. Don't forget, if you enjoyed our show, please smash the like button. Please follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please share with your network. Thank you, guys. Stay safe. God bless.